Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Once again, I warmly welcome all of you to the second session of Streaming Stories organized by Association of Islamic Students, University of California. Today, we are here to meet one of the best and the greatest inspiration to all women and young girls. I would specifically say Muslim women. Yes, I'm glad to invite obstetrician, gynecologist, and laparoscopic surgeon, and also the fertility specialist, Dr. Mrs. Roshan Zairuddin Zaid, consultant at Lanka Hospital Private Limited, to share a masterpiece of knowledge with us. Common and not so common things in gynecology. Yes, doctor, would you like to take us through common things and not so common things in gynecology?
Thank you very much, Rushda. And Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh for everyone. And also a very big thank you for the Kalani Muslim Students Association for inviting me. And I think it's my privilege and my pleasure to talk among the tomorrow of, I guess, because you all are the tomorrow, aren't you all? So hopefully I am very happy that I'm here and I get to address all of you, the cream of our country and society in one sense. Can we straight away start ahead, Rushda? Or are we waiting a bit more?
Yes, doctor.
We'll start, no?
Yeah.
So I have put this as common and not so common things in gynecology. I specifically asked Rushda that there should be men and women in my presentation, because I think we always tend to think when it comes to women's things that it's all pertaining to women, and it's a taboo. Women don't talk about it, neither do they talk with anyone else among themselves or to others. So I always think men, women should all listen so that whatever I talk about is in relation to your mummies, your sisters, your girlfriends, your wives, your daughters. It's everyone. So we have to know about each other to be able to support, to be able to be there for them, and obviously to find out what is wrong with them if there is something wrong. If you don't know about little things I will explain to you today, you would always think whatever happens to them or her or me is just normal, like many of my patients always come and say. And we always tend to forget that common things are always common. We always think about the adverse, the things that are not so common as the most common. Because when somebody thinks about bleeding, the first thing they'll come and ask me is, doctor, do I have cancer? But those are the rare things I would think. There are so many other things that I would come across and say, no, ma, this is other reasons. So that is why I thought, let's talk about which is common, but we always think it's so uncommon. And I'm hoping there are men and women in this audience because I can't see any one of you all. So first of all, hold on, again, technical issues, I guess. Okay, so I always put this slide up, and I have covered my slide because women are portrayed as many shapes and sizes and everything. But again, maybe it's in one side of it, it's for the advertisement, whatever, but on women's perspective, it matters a lot what shape women are. And I always think women are pretty in and out. We are unique creatures. I'm sure all of you will agree with me. We are unique creatures. We have our own way of body functioning. We have our own ways of hormones working. The way we express things are obviously very different to men. Whatever happens in our body is unique for us. And yes, media portrays women to be in a certain shape, certain size. And even if you take the private parts or the vagina or vulva of a woman, there are so many designer things at the moment, which makes women as well as the growing children to think that this is the woman. The woman should be like that. Even the kids and teenagers, picture themselves or they compare themselves. Do I look like her? Do I look like this girl, this actress, this model, whatever? But then always you think you are beautiful the way you are. Women are like flowers. I think all flowers are pretty. There's nothing called not pretty flowers. So all women are unique in their way. They are pretty in their own way, but we have to be confident that we are pretty and this is the way we are. If you don't accept the way you are, nobody would accept you for who you are. So we are what we are. It doesn't change at all. At the same time, we bring about our confidence, because once we accept, okay, this is the way I am. I always tell women when I see them, if you have little facial hair, so what? If you don't accept the way you are, who's going to accept you? You have little pimples, so what? You have a little bit of hair in your arms or face or whatever. It doesn't really matter who you are. That is the way you are. You shine in other ways. Once you accept you as a person, you shine outwards. So next one will be a quiz. I hope, Akhil, people can see. I want people to tell me who these women are. I'm sure you all know. Can you all just type in anyone who knows all these people? Just names, because normally I will be talking and I will be asking lots of questions from lots of people and I don't talk to myself. And this feels a bit weird today. Anyone typing in? Anyone knows these people? Can they hear me, Akhil? Rushta?
Yes, they can hear.
They can hear. Can you all please type in and tell me who these people are, if anyone knows? I'll put my other pictures too. I want to know whether you all know. Anybody knows any one of them? Hold on, I'll give you more pictures. But I don't know why my thing is, yeah. Anybody knows her? Her? Come on, people. There are 198 people. Nobody knows any one of them? Type in some names for me, please. Angela Merkel. Oh, nope. Sonam Kapoor, correct. Anyone else? Katrina Kaif, perfect. Hillary Clinton, very good. Anyone else? Sonam, Diana is not there. Angelina Jolie, nope. Anyone else? Because there's a reason why I'm asking you. Marilyn Monroe, perfect. Queen Victoria, I love it. Aisha, good. So all of you, I think, got except one person, Whoopi Goldberg, perfect. There's one person you all missed, the wife of ex-wife of a famous person called Salman Rushdie. Hillary Clinton, I think all of you have got there. Madonna's not there. Marilyn Monroe's there. There's two more people you all have missed. The bottom one in the middle. Nobody knows her. Famous wife of a footballer. I haven't seen that name yet. Yep, Victoria Beckham, perfect. Padma Lakshmi, yes, who is that? You got it. So we have got all the names. Who is this? Fatima. Fatima, is it Fatima? So you've got all your names. So why I asked you is these are women we all know are obviously they are celebrities. We all know them. But we all know them for different reasons. Actors, actresses, or I don't know, famous people's wives and politicians and everything. But they all are women. They all have something in common. Why I'm asking you is because, see, I always think women, we don't talk about what happens to us. We don't talk about the symptoms that happens to us. We don't discuss among ourselves, not with our husbands, not with our children, not with anyone. We always think whatever happens to us is normal. Everyone tells that, doctor, I thought it's normal. That's why I didn't come to see you. So all they openly talk about things. They have their own programs, own movies, and talk to the world. But still, these are women who, as we go along, you will know, suffer from pain and bleeding of various sorts. We don't know the background, but we need to understand why I talk. So if you take Hillary Clinton, again, she suffers from endometriosis. And I think Katrina Kaif, again, with endometriosis. The famous Queen Victoria, endometriosis. These are names you might not know, but when I talk about it, you would think, oh my God, how common it is. So the Queen Victoria's story is very interesting. We all know that she's the most powerful queen and she had 9 children and she hated children. The only reason she ever had children is that she will not have endometriosis symptoms. So she went on to have babies after babies after babies so she can avoid having the pain of endometriosis. And even if you take, what's her name now, Sonam Kapoor, suffered from PCOS from the age of 15 to 14, had lots of hair in her face, lots of patches in her face, struggled with weight gain, but look at who she is today. So same with Victoria Beckham, again, lots of fertility issues because of endometriosis. She went on to have IVF, she had children, And famous Marilyn Monroe, she loves children, but she was never able to have them because of endometriosis. So we know come out and talk about what they have and what the pain is, and it has taken them years to come out in the public and say, I have this, I suffered from this, hence I'm coming out of it. And most of them have, I think Padma has all these things, they are coming out to say women need to talk about what happens inside them. So these are famous women who come out and talk. But we have so many women, I see so many women every day who don't talk about it. You'll be surprised at the little stories I will tell you. So then when we move on, so all women have certain things in common. So the two things I would want you to think, the things that I already told you, what is it that we all have in common? Two things that we all go through at some point of our life. Quickly write me something, please. Two things that we all have common. So endometriosis, as I told you, I will explain to you as I go along. Tell me something that all women all over the world will have at some point. Yes, hormonal changes is one. Because of hormonal changes, what can we have? Periods. I love it. Naziha, yes. So periods and menstruation, because obviously it's bleeding. All of us will have bleeding at some point or the other in our life. So what else do we go through? Heavy bleeding, depression, pregnancy. What else? Type fast. PCOS, yes. Menopause, yes. So if I mix your stress, breastfeeding, yes. So if I mix all of your things together, the things we all go through will be obviously bleeding at some point. It can be anything, your menstruation, your pregnancy related, sex related, just on its own, whatever, there's some sort of a bleeding, and with bleeding obviously comes pain. So almost all the women in this world will have some sort of a pain, some sort of a bleeding in their lives. But then only thing is, women don't talk about their bleeding, their pain with anyone. I think somebody is writing on the screen. Rushta? Akil, someone keeps on writing on my screen. So these are the two things that we'll all go through. So if I say this, so when does our bleeding, when does the pain become abnormal? So because we don't talk about it, whatever happens. So I get women who will walk to my room and say, doctor, I'm using Pampers, my daughters or kids' Pampers, as well as pads to control my bleeding for the last 5 years. But I thought it is normal. So I didn't talk to anyone. My husband doesn't know, my parents don't know, my sisters don't know. I thought it's normal because of something that happened, I'm coming to you. I will get women who will come and say, doctor, I have severe pain with sex, but I never spoke about it. My husband has no clue that I have pain. Every day I would cry, but he doesn't have. And how many husbands have come to me and cried in front of their wives when the wives talk about how much pain they have during sex, and they never knew about it. So women, this is what women always do. Then they will say, doctor, I had this problem for years, but then my kid had the school, my husband had work, I had this, I had this. Women are very good in postponing things when it comes to their problem. Even when it comes to cancer, whatever the symptoms, that's for another day, but things that we always talk about, women keep on postponing everything. So that at one point when they come to me, they all these years, they would have thought, okay, my bleeding is normal because I didn't tell anyone. I didn't ask my sister, how is her period bleed? I never asked my mommy, did it hurt? No one knows. Same with pain. I get women I always get kids who don't go to school. And I'm sure among yourselves, your batchmates, there'll be people who will cut every month. They won't come for lectures. There'll be people who will faint with pain. There'll be so many people like that. So all these will carry on to say there are people who have a bit more than what it should be. When your pain or when your bleeding becomes out of ordinary, which is affecting your life, which is affecting your quality of life, which is affecting your day-to-day regime, day-to-day routine, your lifestyle, your work, your marriage life, your existence, everything is affected by pain and bleeding. The moment pain and bleeding is controlling you, you're scared of the day that you're going to have a period. You're scared the pain's going to come. You're scared when you think of your husband coming to make love to you because it's pain. But that's all pain, which should not be there. If there is something like that, you need to talk about it and you need to tell and say, there is something like this. Is this normal? Is it not normal? So if I take all these, I'm sure you have heard about women being forced to do hysterectomies. Hysterectomies where the womb is removed from the body. So these are just little articles I'm going to show, which is obvious. This is in India, where women are made to believe in their 20s, early 20s, that any bleeding, the solution is hysterectomy. They can have anything. If they remove the womb, they can have long life. They can work much harder. They can do everything. So all these women who work in these estates and sugarcane factories and all these factories, they are made to believe, and people have coerced them so that they end up having hysterectomies in their early life because women didn't know. The other thing is that you need to understand, if there is a problem, you vocalize and say, I have a problem. What are my options? We as health professionals, it's my duty to give you the options, to say, these are your options. These are the goods and bads of every option. You choose what is right for you. So these poor women are made to believe that. And obviously there are women who are not only in our country, even in the United States, there are people who are being pushed to do his sterilization forcefully, given so many good reasons and bad reasons. So they are forced to say, I don't have a choice. This is my only choice. Let me do sterilization. What is sterilization? It's again commonly people refer as LRT, ligation resection of tubes. So that's almost a permanent method of sterilizing a woman. Again, what happens in our country then? So there are women who will come and say, especially from, I have had women from certain parts of Sri Lanka, they would come and tell me, doctor, the only in my town, half the women or more than half the women after their 40s don't have a womb, doctor. Then when I ask why, then they said, no, doctor, they were all told when they had bleeding, when they had fibroid, the only way forward, because they're not going to have more babies, to remove their wombs. So we are not far away from the rest of the world. Our women are more naive. They don't talk about what is happening, not like the rest of the, I won't say women are women everywhere. Even if I think our women are naive and not vocalizing more, it's similar to what is happening in the rest of the world when I show you some of the other clips. So yes, it's the same thing that happens in our country as well. Women are made to believe certain things, and women are not given the right option. Women don't have the option of choosing the birth control they want. Women don't have an option to say, do I need a period? Do I don't need a period? They don't have an option. If I have a fibroid, my only option given to me is remove the womb. If I have bleeding after 40, my only option is remove the womb. I have had women in 50s who would have traveled miles and miles from corners of Sri Lanka because they've heard me talk before, to come and say, doctor, you told me not to remove my womb, so I came to see you. So I am glad somebody is listening somewhere. Always, as a woman, as a person, you need to know your choices. There are millions of choices in the world. Just because you have a fibroid doesn't mean you need to remove your womb. If you stop your periods at the age of 30, means something is wrong. How many women I see at the age of 45 would come and say, doctor, 35, I stopped my periods. I went to a couple of doctors. They said, it's just time to stop my periods. No, I do not agree. That's not the time. You went into premature menopause and nobody dealt with it. Now at the age of 45, when I see you, your sexual life is ruined. You have diabetes, you have blood pressure, you have osteoporosis, you have fractures, you have lipids, cholesterol, you name it, you have it. You don't even have a memory now. So all these are problems women face when they don't talk about it. Our country, as well as any other so-called developed country, the plight of women are the same. So if I move on, if you see this endometriosis, somebody asked me, I would explain to you in a while. So again, endometriosis, the first thing you need to know is severe period pains. So there are millions of women who suffer with very severe period pains, and they are not heard. The common things, even everywhere. So these again, Indian women who are forced to have hysterectomies. Women who think there's a knife being passed through their insides and out every single time they are having period, or every single time they are having sex. So again, that's pain. But then when you go and tell your health professionals, they tell you, no, sorry, darling, it's just in your mind. Most people come and tell me, doctor, they said it's in my head. They send me to psychiatrist doctor because every month I'm going to the doctor because I have pain. And sometimes they come and tell me, no, doctor, when I marry, I was told everything's going to be fine. When I have a baby, I'm cured. So all these things I've heard so many times from women who come and tell me. So this lady, I don't know whether you all know, Tara Lipinski, is a figure skating gold gold medalist in Olympics. Even she had to say, see, how can I live with pain? The articles you read about pain, everybody would say, I would rather commit suicide. I would rather not live with this pain. It's pain that goes into my body and comes out. Nobody is listening to me. It took me so many times that I had to go to my GP hundreds of times to complain and say, truly, I have pain. Sometimes I get husbands who will bring their wife and say, doctor, all this time I never knew why she was having so much of pain. She hid it from me. Now I'm bringing you because I can't stand looking at her in pain. Sometimes you should understand, sometimes strange like y'all. I got a medical student from Jaffna, if I'm right. He brought his mommy and somebody keeps on scribbling on my screen. I would appreciate if you don't do that. So somebody came from Jaffna, a medical student bringing his mother. He came and said, madam, I came all the way from there. My mommy is having this. And somebody said, just take the womb out. Is there any option? Can you tell me any options I can do? I was so happy when he came to see me. So that is why I always say there should be men listening to problems of women so you can help your loved ones. So living with pain, living with a lot of bleeding is not easy. And I always share this little slide. I'm sure it might not make sense to a lot of you, but these are the important organ of a female organ, reproductive organ, because you need to know slightly about this for the things that I'm going to explain to you further. So we all know most of us have one uterus, almost all of us, and we have 2 ovaries on either side, which is going to produce the hormones. We have 2 tubes on either side. And when ovulation happens, what happens? The egg is released into the pelvic cavity from either of the ovary, and the ovum goes into the fallopian tube, and the sperm from the vagina enters the 2 doors of the uterus. The outer door, the inner door comes in. Comes in, and the fertilization occurs somewhere in the tube, and the embryo rolls in and embeds in your uterine cavity. So we have a nice triangular shaped uterine cavity. These are our basic organs. So as you can see from here, the whole pathway should be open from either side for fertilization to occur. So every month when I say period, what I mean is this lining, this endometrium, this thickened lining, which should only be inside the uterine cavity here, the cavity. And when there is no baby, this dark red thing breaks down, sheds with blood, and comes through the vagina and outward. So this is what basically happens. You have to have a simple idea of this for you to understand what I would talk further. So when I say bleeding, yes, I said bleeding. So if I ask all these young girls who are joined here to describe their bleeding and their loved ones bleeding, I will have so many. Somebody would say, no, I don't have bleeding. Some might say I have little bleeding. I have too much bleeding. Even today, I had somebody who came and said, doctor, I'm having periods for 2 weeks. Non-stop, I'm bleeding. Another one came and said, even now I'm bleeding for the last 3 months continuously. And I said, why didn't you come and see me? No, doctor, I thought it will stop the next week. It will stop the next week, but it never stopped. So that is women. So all these descriptions I have said, too little, too long, too late, all over the place. And obviously in between periods, all these, even sometimes you completely miss a period. Some people bleed even after sex. So even then you get to menopause, and then some people bleed. And then again, I get some women come and say, doctor, after I stopped my period 10, 20 years ago, doctor, I have suddenly started my periods again. I was so happy. And that is where I understand how naive women are when they come and tell me, my period started again. No, they didn't know, but somebody did brought them to me. But that is what women need to understand. So if I say what is normal, normally what happens, you will have a cyclical bleeding. Some sort of a cyclical pattern will be your bleeding from the day you start your periods, which is your menarche. The day that you start your periods, you'll have some sort of a cyclical bleeding. Cyclic bleeding, yes, you will have some sort of a little bit of discomfort, little bit of pain in the first couple of days. Your bleeding will be up to about 5 to 7 days, and then it ends and it stops. And it doesn't start until the next cycle. So your cycle can vary from, let's say, 24 days to about 35-day cycle. Nobody will have a picture perfect 28-day cycle every single month. Very rarely, yeah, some women always say I have, but that is how it is. So your periods can vary. Normally there's some pain. Some women don't have pain. Nobody bleeds continuously. Nobody has excruciating pain. Nobody should have clotting and floody bleeding. Normally there shouldn't be mid bleeding in between periods. Normally, there shouldn't be any bleeding after sex, and there should not be bleeding after menopause. So all your cycle ends at the age of around 50, around say, that's where you stop. That is your menopause. And then from menopause onwards, you're never expected to have any bleeding. If there was bleeding, there has to be a reason. So everything I said is kind of normal. But then again, women always think you have to have period every single month. There is nothing like that. Yes, there are things that we do, and we adjust the cycles when women have problems. So these are the things I would say normal. But then again, if anything changes, you need to find out the reason. So every day when I get women, they come and say, I had this from teenage doctor, and now I'm going to get married at the age of 24. Just thought of checking. You always think if you're a little different, why is it different? Is it something good different or something bad different? And again, if I think of the reasons, there'll be lots of reasons. I will keep on highlighting to things that are very common, which I will talk about to you in detail. So your little reasons for changing. So you can see two women in this picture, complete contrast. So anything to do with your periods, don't think of bad cancer, bad things to say, that is the reason. Simple as stress. Now imagine everybody's at home. I get patients who come and tell me, doctor, for the last lockdown 2 years, I have put on 10 kilos. My periods were perfectly normal 2 years ago, and now I'm not getting my periods. They are much lighter, much lesser. So yes, being at home, not doing exercises, eating too much, putting on weight, living under stressful conditions will completely mess up your periods. So the same thing, those are the commonest thing. The rest of the things I will look for are not so common. So I will always ask, are you at home? Are you doing exercises? Are you eating from Uber Eats? Are you pounding up piles now? Pounds of weight now? Are you exercising? All the kids are having homeschooling. Are you stressed? That is more than enough to mess up your periods, mess up your cycles. So that is my common reason. The rest is all uncommon reason. Yes, I will look for other structural abnormalities, polyps or fibroids, or I will look for hormonal irregularities. Those are other things. But my cancer will be, as you can see, will be at the bottom of my list. That's not my common thing. My common is the first three in my list. And nowadays, that's the most commonest reason for all the women, all the teenagers I see who are having issues. Again, I have said after dysfunctional bleeding, I put PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome. That is the most commonest hormone abnormality in women all around the world. That's the most commonest. So that will be my list next. So if I think of anyone in reproductive age, I would think that will be my next choice apart from the top. And then comes my endometriosis, which I will again talk about. Those are the most two commonest things I always want to exclude in my women because they have implications later for many things. Then, as I said, the cancer, infection, thyroid, prolactin, the whole works are completely at the bottom of my list. And again, if I ask pain, and again, I want to tell you all, because my biggest complaint that everyone makes, I'm too fast. And if I am too fast, please tell me that I will slow down. At the same time, I'm going purely in English. If anyone did not understand anything in English, please tell me. I will say it again in Tamil or Sinhala as you need. So please make sure that I am warned, Rushda, because I'm not checking my chat box regularly. So if I go back to pain, again, the same thing happens. When I say pain, women who come to me will always say, doctor, I thought whatever I had all this time is normal. How many couples who will come me and say, doctor, if I while I'm scanning, while I'm talking, if I say, by the way, do you have pain with sex? She would look at me for a moment and she'll say, yeah. Then I would say, why do you have pain? From when? Then she said, no, from day one, I have pain every single time. Then if I say, did you not think that is normal or not normal? She said, no, මට හිතුනේ මට විතරක් නෙවෙයි doctor, I am like this and I thought everybody is like this because I never asked anyone whether they had pain because it's not something I would want to talk about. So that is what happens because we don't express what we have or neither do we discuss with anyone. So pain with periods, as I said before, yes, the first couple of days, some sort of a discomfort or maybe slightly more readily responds to 2 paracetamols or whatever the painkiller you take, that is normal. Pain does not come before your periods. Pain doesn't come after your periods. Pain doesn't go all throughout the month is not normal. And any pain that comes with sex, again, sex, some people have some discomfort, but then again, there shouldn't be any pain at all. If you have pain, there is some problem. You need to find out what is it? Why do you have pain during, before or after sex? Some people with periods, they struggle to pass urine. They struggle to open bowels. There is pain. Some people continuously have back pains and they also have pelvic pains, unexplained bowel symptoms. All these are put together. They are in one. So if you have things that are related, if you have your friends, your sisters, your wives, your mothers, anyone has anything like this and you can see that they are struggling. Because I always say, if you don't understand the period pain your wife goes through, your mother goes through, your sisters goes through, then you will not understand how to be supportive, how to find out what is wrong with them. Sometimes I get couples who have frictions because she hasn't told that I have mood swings just before my periods. I am a bit, because of my hormonal things, yeah, women normally have some sort of a changes in their moods. That is acceptable, that's normal. But because the husband doesn't know, they always think, she's fighting with me, she's like this, she has changed. But the moment I explain, no, that's hormonal, and she, after about a week or so, she'll be back to normal, then yeah. But then again, you need to understand there is a problem. Then you look for reasons and things. So if I say pain, again, my commonest reason, as you can see, again, highlight the endometriosis. So some people have pain from the time they start their periods till the end of their period, their menopause. Some people have pain after about, let's say, 4 or 5 years of starting periods, they have pain. Some people have pain after certain procedures, sometimes after cesarean, sometimes after womb washing or ERPC or something like that, it happens. So all these things, you need to understand why do I get pain? When did I start having pain? How bad is my pain? You need to know so that you can identify. I'm not a big fan of Google doctor because then that misleads and you will not be able to see through and tell what is good and what is bad. So you need to understand, yes, pain is an important factor. And my primary concern will be for anyone in their reproductive age to identify whether you have endometriosis, whether you have any structural problems, whether there's something else. Especially again, pain with sex. My number one will be endometriosis. Somebody who has pain and who has pain with sex, who had pain with periods, who's struggling to have a baby. Now, my number one will be again endometriosis. So it is common, as I would tell you in a while. So again, other reasons that I have marked you, yes, obvious psychological reason, dryness, all these other things, infection, all of these will come into play when it comes to pain with sex. So far, I hope you all are with me. Okay, so then if I move on, and again, I will start with PCOS first before endometriosis. So that's the two things I would like to discuss because I can't go through everything else. PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a name misnomer. It's a completely a name which throws out and gives you a different meaning for the disease itself or a syndrome itself. Syndrome is something which has many symptoms and many signs put together. Polycystic ovary. In English, if I say polycystic is multiple cysts in your ovary. When you say cyst, everyone pictures a big black round in the ovaries or big balls in their ovaries which need to be removed. Some come and tell me, doctor, I was scanned today and I was told I have PCOS and I have to remove my cyst. No, polycystic ovary is a misnomer, this word cyst. I'm talking about cyst, which is not really cyst. They are like little pearls. I will show you pictures. So they are minimum little immature eggs or immature follicles seen as little pearls on the scan. I have written it as a silent syndrome because people, again, don't talk about it, neither don't get diagnosed of it. So PCOS is not true cyst at all. They are just misnomer. So as I told you before, it's the most commonest #1 hormonal imbalance in this world among all the women. Very common. So women are made to believe many things about PCOS, but it's one of the most commonest hormonal imbalances. And as you have marked the three criteria and how we diagnose normally. Normally, you have some sort of a period irregularity. Either you have a period, most probably you don't have a period, you have a very little flow of your period, you skip a couple of months of your period, or you don't have a period for a long time, or still you would have a period but you don't ovulate every month, some sort of a hormone period irregularity. And obviously, if I scan you, as you can see in this picture, this is a normal ovary with a few follicles. All these black balls are follicles. If I see this ovary, it's a large ovary with lots of little follicles. So this is a classical polycystic ovary. And then obviously excessive male hormone or hormone features. If I do a blood test, or if I see features, some people come and say they have upper lip hair, some people come and say chin hair, hair on either side, hair on the body, sometimes on the breast, sometimes on the tummy, all over. Or you also have male hair fall towards the side, what we call as a male pattern baldness. Some people have excessive oil, excessive acne, darkness of the skin around the neck, around armpits, and all these other features which comes around with it. So all these are criteria. So if you have 2 out of the 3, you would diagnose, but not in children. We don't say 13, 14-year-olds have PCOS. It's more towards 16 and above, we would say. But again, you would see the trend of a girl becoming PCOS or becoming a woman with PCOS later when you see them as a teenager and how things change. So these are the common criteria. So if I move on again, this again for you to understand, both ovaries are normal. They are not abnormal. If you have PCOS, they are smaller with a few follicles. And if they are polycystic, they are larger with a few more follicles. But they are not in any sense abnormal ovaries. They are normal ovaries. If I show you a laparoscopic picture, that's the uterus. That's a 2 tubes on either side, and it's a normal looking ovary with no PCOS. This is again normal ovaries which are large and polycystic. So they look much larger. Sometimes when I scan, I would see them as big as the uterus or bigger than the uterus. So these are again the little symptoms and things I told you. Yes, you can have irregular bleeding. You can have a bit of absent periods, hair problems, oil problems, discoloration. You don't have to be chubby if you're PCOS. Sometimes women always think that I'm going to be chubby and big and fat. No, you can be skin and skinny and very slim and you still can have PCOS. In the long run, if you don't look after yourself, yes, you have all the other hormone imbalances, which will push you to have diabetes, blood pressure, everything. So if I talk about long term, short term, yes, as I said, the hair issues, pimple issues, all these issues will come. But again, long term, what happens, as I told you, sometimes you might not ovulate. The little follicles I showed you are immature eggs. The follicles, they don't mature, they don't ovulate. Hence, there can be a delay. Please mark my words. It's a delay in falling pregnant. Not that you can't have a baby. It's a delay. And then in the long run, if you don't look after yourself, you start putting weight. There's issues of blood pressure, dyslipidemias, or you have cholesterol and lipid problems, you end up having heart issues. And if you don't have periods for a long time in your 40s, not before that, a lot of women come and ask me, if I don't have a period, doctor, I'll have cancer. No, in your late 40s, if you're not having periods regular and long absence of period, you have a increased risk of having endometrial or womb cancer. And most important, the last 2. If we don't identify women and our teenagers and our young girls who have PCOS, we get into this trouble for lifelong. Because as I said initially, the society looks at a woman as a pretty figure of 8 or whatever it is. It's polished skin and no pimples and no hair and you name it. But as I said, women are not like that. They are flowers. They have different colors of petals, different colors of pollen, different colors of everything. So everybody is different and unique. So what happens is if you don't identify and help your friends and sisters and family to accept who they are. I still remember a woman who comes to see me. She would always wear a niqab and she would always look down and talk before the corona. She would take the niqab off, but she'll never have eye contact with me. She will look down. And when we were having a chat, I said, why are you looking down? Why don't you look at me and talk to me? Then only she lifted her chin and said, look, doctor, I have so much of hair here. When I look at someone, the only thing they look at is my hair. They talk to me looking at my hair. Nobody looks at me. So these are the things we have to change in our society and the way you look at women. It's not just her. I would encourage her. Why do you even need to have that hair? Because some women are told or made to believe that if you shave them, if you do treatment, there'll be more hair. No, not at all. You go ahead. You have I showed you all these celebrities and everyone. All of them had PCOS. They had hair, they had everything. Look at them now. So there are enough and more treatment in the world. You have hair, go get treatment, get rid of your hairs, do everything to look pretty and nice. So those are the people who have problems. So her whole self-confidence is broken because of this. She doesn't go out to a society. She doesn't go out in the meetings, functions, no, nothing. She doesn't go anywhere because she thinks she's ugly and people only look at her. And I get young girls who would wear full long sleeves. I get women who don't want to go for swimming or sports or anything because they have hair in their legs. So this is what we need to change, the mentality of our kids and our teenagers and our women. No, just because you have a little more hair does not make you who you are. You can change yourself, accept it, and you find ways to overcome and live with it. Because if you don't, I get women in their late 40s, early 50s with lots of problems, relationship issues, frictions between husband and wife. Because again, sometimes some women come and say, doctor, my husband, I get both. Some husbands say, why do you want to shave? I am happy the way you are. Perfect. Some would say, no, I don't like you because you have hair, you have pimples, you have this and that. So there are different kinds of people in the society. We need to understand and educate everyone. So if your husband is happy the way you are, if your partner is happy the way you are, your parents are happy the way you are, and you should be happy the way you are, you don't worry about anything else. So if you don't identify and help them to overcome this, I get patients, my women who come in their late 40s with all the complaints. They are depressed, they have medication, they are overweight, they are already very obese, they have hair, they have pimples, they have diabetes, they have blood pressure. You name it, they have everything because they are pushed to a corner, this certain group of women till the end, and nobody was there to listen to them. Neither did they listen to themselves, neither no one helped them, and nobody identified there's a problem. So this is something we have to identify because it's one of the most commonest things, and that should not be affecting a girl's life. And then the other important, is there a treatment for PCOS? No, there is no one treatment in this world at all. So if you have PCOS, you are diagnosed of PCOS, that is the way you are. You need to first, as I told you, accept it. Yes, I have PCOS. What do I do to overcome my symptoms? How do I manage my symptoms? How do I make my life better? Whether it's beauty, whether it's skin, whether it's fertility, whether it's baby, whether it's period, what are the options I have and how can I manage it so that I can be proud and confident of who I am? So I get women, so many women who say, I did this sort of treatment, that treatment, I need to cure this, doctor. There is nothing like that. There's no one treatment or cure for PCOS. You are PCOS at the age of 16, you are PCOS at the age of 45. It does not change. Some women come and ask me, please, can you do another scan to see whether my PCOS has reduced? There's nothing like that. You are what you are. Once you are diagnosed of PCOS, yes, you have it for life. You need to understand how to accept it, how to embrace it, and how to overcome it and live your life to the fullest the way you want. And as I have written, it's mostly symptomatic treatments, and obviously weight is an important issue on women who are overweight, not for the ones who are slim and skinny. And here is what I want you to understand. Women are made to believe. So many have come and told me this, that you will never have a baby if you have PCOS. You will always be fat if you have PCOS. You will never be able to reduce weight if you have PCOS. You have only male hormones and you will become a male. You will have a beard and a mustache and everything if you have PCOS. These are complete lies. There's no truth about it. I get women who will come and say, doctor, at the age of 16, I was diagnosed with PCOS and I was told I will never be able to have a baby. I am miraculously pregnant. And I wonder why somebody would ever tell you something like that. So there is nothing like that. Even yesterday, I diagnosed a medical student of having PCOS. As soon as a mother went out, she slowly came back in and said, doctor, tell me the truth. This is going to affect my fertility in the future. I said, no, not by any means. So you need to understand, these are the things that make women lose their self-confidence and make women do things which they don't want to do. And if you don't understand your body, you can't make your husband, your partner to understand what is it. So first understand PCOS is just a hormone imbalance. That's about it. Yes, it's a nuisance. In some people, it's a big bother, but there are ways and means to overcome it to make us a confident way of living. And then we'll move on to endometriosis. So again, as I told you, endometriosis is where you need to understand, as I told you, I'll draw you again. I showed you a nice lining of the cavity, which is a triangular endometrial cavity, which is lined by endometrium, the lining of the womb. This lining goes outside the womb. I'll show you another picture. That is what endometriosis is, where the lining of the womb goes outside the womb. And I have said it's very common, affects 1 in 10 women. So you can imagine how many millions of women must be affected with it in this world. More women than diabetes and breast cancer in this world. Endometriosis affects much, much more women. But we don't think about it or talk about it or diagnose it. So if I show you, this is the purple lining, and that is the endometrium, the womb lining. This goes out. So this can be on the fallopian tube, this can be on the ovary, this can be on your bowel. I think I have another picture for that. Yes, here. So this can be on your bowel, this can be on your bladder, this can be on anywhere. Sometimes you get these ectopic endometrium even in your heart, in your lungs, in your arms, in your skin, anywhere and everywhere. So, but the commonest we always see is pelvic endometriosis in the pelvic cavity. So imagine when I showed you the functions of the ovary. So what happens every month, your ovary is going to produce hormones. Your brain is going to produce hormones, which is going to interact with the endometrium here. So once what happens, the endometrium will start thickening up, expecting a baby. So women classically will come and say, what will they say? All these will again respond to the same hormones that the endometrium here responds. So classically, 10 days to a week before, women start to complain, doctor, I have this pain, lower back, tummy pain, back pain, thigh pain, as if my period is going to come, but it's not coming. All these will start before a week or two, because all these will respond to the same hormones. At the same time, because they are on the bowel, women will have multiple bowel symptoms, bloating, pain, heaviness, sometimes altered bowel movements, all kinds of things. You will have lots. Some women bleed when they are, if you have endometriosis in the bladder, imagine you will bleed whenever you have a period, you will bleed blood in the urine. When you have endometriosis rarely in the lung,
whenever you cough, you will have blood when you're on a period. So you can imagine what happens. And when the time comes, what happens? That this endometrium will shed and come out from the cervical vagina out. And here, yes, they will all bleed out, but they will never come out because there's nowhere to come. If they bleed in the ovary, they collect and collect and collect, and you get a chocolate cyst. So this is what the spots are like. So you can imagine these are the spots. These are the bottom of the uterus, uterosacral ligaments, and you have these endometriotic spots. Obviously, you can imagine you cannot see them on scan in a naked eye. You will not be able to see. You will not see these neovascularizations, new blood vessels coming up. You will not see these spots near the fallopian tubes. You will not see any of these. So whenever they bleed, what happens now? They are blood, fresh blood coming out. The blood comes out in the ovary. Yes, ovary has a capsule, so it can expand. Collecting and collecting of this blood, eventually the red blood will, with time, will become brownie. So we say chocolate cyst. So they are like chocolatey. So they become a chocolate cyst on your ovaries. But if they start bleeding, as I said here, on your bowels, on your bladder, or anywhere, every day, every month when they bleed, they kind of, blood is very sticky. So things start to get stuck. So this is a nightmare that I would not want to see. So everything is stuck. So you can see a large chocolate cyst on the ovary, bowel, endometriosis are stuck on the ovary. All this is stuck. So these women, it doesn't mean that the pain with endometriosis never really correlates with the symptoms or with the true pathology. Some women I see who will have only a few spots, like I showed you before, will be in excruciating pain. Some women like this, the full grade 4 endometriosis, will not have any signs or symptoms. I will only diagnose them when they come to see me to say, I don't have a baby, doctor. I've been trying for a baby for some time. So the correlation is very different to the disease. So you can have any of this. So obviously you can imagine your uterus, your tubes, everything's going to be stuck because blood is very sticky. Stuck, your anatomy is altered, your tubes can be blocked, your womb can be really pulled back and stuck somewhere. So you can't have sex, there's pain. You can't open bowels, you have pain. Passing urine, everything is painful. So your whole world is shaken about because of this pain. But yet we don't diagnose this at all. It takes almost 8 to 10 years. In our country, in US, in UK, you name it, in any country in the world, this is roughly 8 to 10 years of struggle for a woman to be diagnosed of endometriosis. Why? You imagine, like I said, somebody will come to me in their early teens, around 16, 17, and I've written the number 2 is gold standard of diagnosis in laparoscopy, because I've told you, I've shown you little spots which you cannot see on scans. Your history will tell me, doctor, when I had my periods, I didn't have much pain. 5 years, 6 years later, doctor, I start getting pains. Every month, my pain seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And then now I can't do anything. I have so much of pain. So all this history, when a teenager comes to me at the age of 17, 16, tells me the last 2 years, my periods pains are so bad. And the first thing that will click on my radar will be, do you have endometriosis? Then the first moment, if I say, maybe we should try laparoscopy to see whether I can see any of those spots, I will never see the mother and daughter again, because they will think, this is something more intrusive, more intervention, and we should not be doing this. That is why I said that enlightenment, the education of society, women, among everyone is important. If there is a pain that is increasing every month, there is a pain that's stopping you from going for lectures, there's a pain that is making you faint every month, there is a problem. You need to find out. Either it's endometriosis or there is a similar condition called adenomyosis, which is again the same lining goes into the muscle of the womb. So these are the things that women, you will never know the names, but you know all the symptoms I'm talking about. Somebody you know will have so much of pain, they will stay inside the house with a hot bag for the first 3-4 days. Somebody will be struggling to have a baby for years and having all this pain but not coming forward. All these are people we know in our day-to-day lives, but we don't look for it. Teachers have seen students who will miss classes every day. You will see somebody who has have pain. Even in your lecture, some girl will be sleeping with paracetamol every single month. Think for a moment, why is she lecture? So there's some issue is there in some people. We need to find out early. Why? If I diagnose endometriosis in your 20s and if I had treated you, you're not going to have that horrible picture of all the auditions and stuck and you're struggling to have a baby when you're 30, because something would have been done to either regress your disease, suppress your disease, stop the disease progression, and you would have had much better life, pain-free life, and you would have had a baby. So all these, again, most probably there's no one treatment. Even for endometriosis, there's no one treatment at all. Yes, there's surgical treatment, hormonal treatment, and the understanding of what you have. Then it's much easier for you to manage what you have. And all the women I get are told the last sentence, removing your womb and having your baby is your only cure for endometriosis. Women are made to believe that, yes, you can't have a baby is one, or you want a cure, have a baby, get married, you'll be fine. There won't be any pain. Your pain will go away, your heavy period will go away once you're married. Or remove your womb, everything is sorted. But no one talks about what happens after you remove a womb. What are your complications after that? Or get pregnant ASAP, get married now. This is what I always hear from women. No, these are all not true. There's so many other things. Once you understand what is happening, once you have a diagnosis, look at your options and you decide what is it I want to do to manage my pain, manage my periods. So again, as I said, common things are always common. If you have period pains or alteration of your periods, some little change in your life, think about common things. If you have pelvic pain that is affecting your life, pain, abnormal bleeding, heavy bleeding affecting your life, talk about it. At least you talk to your husbands, at least tell your siblings, your mothers, your teachers, someone, you talk about it and say, I have like this. Tell your friends, do you have pain like me, or is it something different only for me? What is it? If you talk about it, then you can save each other. You don't need to go to the extreme of having bad outcomes with the following things. I always tell women, please do listen to your bodies. Your bodies are much better. You have to be a good listener to your own bodies. Even if this topic is pertaining to common gynecological things, another most important thing in gynecology is gynecological cancers. So even then, I always tell you, if there's a change in your period, if there's a change in the pain, discomfort, something is not right. Please look into it and think, why did it change now? What is it? If you have a mole, a lump, a scratch, an itch, whatever it is, if it is not something that is normally seen, even especially about breast cancer, same thing. If there's a little change in your breast shape, color, contour, anything, please don't ignore them. Listen to your body. Body is always correct. If you do listen, you will know what is wrong with you. So I always, when I started, I said, even if you are a celebrity, whether you are a person who's working in the tea estate, doesn't make a difference. Women are women all over the world. If we don't talk about it, if you don't express yourself, this is what is happening. I need to find a cure. I need to find a cause. I need to know the options of what to do. We are never going to improve and come out of this. So this painting I always used to put in my presentation. There's a painting that's done by an autistic child. So even autism, she doesn't know how to express herself, but she knows how to create this paint to say, I am happy, I'm not happy, and this is the way I feel. And I think this is my last slide. Please do open your eyes and please do understand what women are going through. As a woman, you understand what is going through with you, and then you find ways and means to overcome. So I only spoke about two common things that a lot of people not know. Maybe they know the symptoms, but again, commonest is this bleeding issues and pain issues. And there are many, many other reasons to it, but I just spoke about two little things that I think you all should know. And I just hope that you all did understand. And if you all have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Rushta, how do I get the questions, Rushta, from? Can you hear me, Rushta?
Yes, ma'am. Akil will share the screen. Akil?
So shall I stop sharing mine?
Okay.
Is the questions from the chat box is what I'm going to read, is it? Or do you have other set of questions, Rushta?
Yes, ma'am.
From the chat box, or you have a set of questions?
Akil will share the screen.
Okay, fine. Should I answer some of the questions in the chat box while we wait, or what?
Okay, ma'am.
Shall I answer a few until he shares the screen?
Okay.
So somebody has said about, can we know when we should be concerned about our breast? So again,
breasts are again, just like I told you, ideally you should do a self breast examination soon after period every month. You should know how your breasts look like. Usually everyone will have one bigger, one smaller. Any changes in color, any changes in contour. Can you hear me? I think something happened and I was lost. Can you hear me, Akil?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It's shared.
Okay. So somebody has said great initiative would be great if you can increase awareness among young girls, prevent, inshallah, maybe in the future. Yes, and thank you very much. And then go slow after I finish my presentation. Next time, inshallah, I will, and I hope Rushda or Akil will keep on telling me I'm too far. I thought I was slow today. Okay, never mind. If you have missed anything, please tell me. I would come back and go through it again. If I take painkillers, my period stop, or not really, no. So you see, like it's like this. So if you take something like Meftal or mefenamic acid, yes, it can reduce the bleeding, but it doesn't stop your bleeding and it's not abnormal at all. So don't worry. Some people don't take anything thinking that it will stop and block the periods. There's nothing like that. If I know someone who had cysts and the VOG had consulted saying to remove, but when she had removed the left ovary too, is it harmful? See again, so you have said somebody who had a cyst and they had to remove one ovary at the age of 21. And yes, you can conceive because you already have, as long as you have a other ovary, which is a good functions fine, there should not be a problem in having pregnancy or hormonal issues or nothing like that. What is the advice you give to a girl with PCOS and subfertility? As I told you before, it doesn't mean that all PCOS women or girls will have symptoms and signs of everything. There'll be more than half the women who have PCOS will have some sort of a period. They will ovulate. They will have babies. They will not have any other issues whatsoever. So because of that, there's nothing to say all women who have PCOS are in trouble. Only some will have some issue, maybe delays in getting period, ovulation, not having a baby, or delay in having baby, not in everyone. So there's no one advice for everyone, but you understand what works for you, whether exercising, maintaining your weight, eating healthy is good for you. You will know when you start listening to your body and understanding your body. What is the problem with breastfeeding while pregnancy? Sorry, what is that? What is the problem with breastfeeding? Why does gyno suggest not to breastfeed during pregnancy? Not really, no. When you have other kids and you are pregnant, yes, you can always breastfeed your other child. There's nothing that you say you can't feed while you are pregnant. No. Truly love your service. May Allah reward you. Jazakallah. Ameen. I am a fair-skinned lady, but my genitals have become very dark. I do not have PCOS. Is this a common troubling for a long time? It doesn't have to be PCOS alone. Women who have other issues like thyroid also will have issues with skin color changes. So you should look into it. Some women, there won't be any hormonal problems at all, but you have darker skin.
but there are enough and more aesthetic ways. You can see a plastic surgeon, you can see a beautician. There are lots of ways to change the color of your, especially your inner thighs and genitals. At the same time, the other thing I have noticed in women is too much of shaving with the razor. So the more you shave and destroy your skin with the razor, then also you get this, especially your armpits and your genitals. So if you're shaving with a razor, change it to a bikini trimmer. And if on top of it, if you have, because that's called contact dermatitis, you keep on rubbing, skin becomes a different color to the rest of your body. You can check on that. If not, you can go and see a plastic surgeon or someone along that. They will help you to change the color or lighten it much more. Any other questions, Akhil?
Madam, apart from that, sorry. Apart from that, I have forwarded some of the most important questions that they have asked. There are around 8 questions. Could you please check your chat box?
I think I have more than that in my chat box, no? So I
Refer
have
only mine. Whatever.
From you,
Yes.
hold on, Akhil. Okay, Akhil. One of my friends having PCOS and given letoa-follistin injection, going married. She's trying to become pregnant, but she can't still. How long? So again, see, when it comes to fertility, it's not just the woman. Everyone thinks just because the wife has PCOS or the woman has PCOS, that is the reason for not falling pregnant. But you can have many other reasons. You can make the PCOS woman ovulate. You need to make sure her tubes are patent. You need to make sure the husband's sperms are normal, the background of endometriosis. There are so many other things that you have to find out, not just ovulation alone and blame it on the woman or think it's the only woman. So I think you should explore all your other treatments to look for other reasons of falling pregnant, for not falling pregnant. For me, who's this now? Akhil now. If you can, Akhil, you can read out a few because I'm trying to find your questions. So somebody again has, read out, Akhil.
Shall I send one by one because I have the difficulty in reading those words?
Okay, then send it. I'll read. Send. So while you send, I'll keep on going with the questions I have here.
I have sent one.
You have sent one in the chat box, no?
The latest one. Yes, in chat box. The latest. My age is 24.
Hold on. There's more. I think after you send, there's more. This is the one, no? May I know the reason for vaginal dryness and low libido in early 20s? I mean, I'm 24. Please omit my name, okay? And sorry, no, your question doesn't make me uncomfortable, and I'm very glad you came up and asked me. Again, vaginal dryness is one of the issues that a lot of women have and a lot of couples suffer. Again, there's lots of many things when it comes to sexual intimacy. It's just not hormones alone. There can be body reasons, psychological reasons, and many, many other factors, even simple stress. So things like vaginal dryness, yes, you can have some people because there's not enough foreplay. When you start your sexual encounters and there's not enough foreplay, when your body and mind and your brain is not aroused enough to understand your body is going to have sex, your body will not have any wetness and body will not be ready. That is the most commonest thing. Sometimes it's hormonal. When you have irregular cycles or irregularities or no proper hormone functioning, things like thyroid or PCOS or long periods of no periods or long breastfeeding intervals, all this will give rise to dryness. And some people, it's not entirely pathological or very bad outcome. You can always use some gel, or there are lots of gels that are made. Libido is again something very similar. It's very hard to just pinpoint and tell you this is the reason, but there can be many, many reasons why, because it's again mixture or cluster of many things. I have had women who would come and say, doctor, whenever I see my husband, I only think of his mother and how bad she was, and I don't want to have sex with him. So then I don't feel like doing it. So it's like, it's not one reason. attraction towards your husband or your partner has many forms. So it's very difficult for me to give you one reason, but it's something that you should have a proper discussion to identify where what are the things you can change to make your relationship better. So this is again from you, I'm not sure, but it says, is it normal for a 55-year-old woman to have menstruation with lapse of 6 months? Again, the normal age for menopause is around the age of 50, 51. But there are women who would still go up to 55, 57, whatever, up to that age, and then eventually go into menopause. As long as you have, like you said, maybe let's say once in 6 months, 7 months, you have a period, and please do get a scan to confirm there's nothing else is wrong. And as long as you don't have a very irregular, erratic bleeding, things are fine. Gradually you go into menopause. If you have very erratic bleeding, very irregular bleeding, please do get a scan and confirm that things are normal. But yes, you can have periods even at the age of 55. I went through a surgical before I read a question, the question vanishes now. So 2 weeks ago, I got first dose of Moderna. After 1 week, I got allergy, itchy. Some parts of my body, I got itchy. Issue in only one. No, I don't think vaccine itself. Yeah, lots of people have lots of side effects and all that. So I wouldn't think too much. Just take some, see your GP and get some antihistamine. I'm sure you'll be okay. So there's a question I wanted to check. I underwent surgical intervention, laparoscopy 5 months before because of endometriosis, and it was stage 3. So what was the question? There's no question. So again, it depends on why you had the why you had the surgery. As I said, it would have been just an incidental thing where you're trying for a baby and they found you have and you're normal, or you must be someone who's having excruciating pain with periods or without periods, and it all depends whether it's grade 1 or grade 4 in what your symptoms are and how your quality of life is. I'm 24-year-old, married before 7 months. Attend ஆனதுல இருந்து period regular வந்தது, sometime regular 3 to 4 months, then after 4 months வரமா இருக்கும் period pain 2 times scan பண்ணி பார்த்தா VOG normal. I don't know, now I'm confused. So I'm assuming that you have irregular periods and pain. So again, Ma, you have said you are confused. No, you should have some sort of a diagnosis. Like I said, even if your scan is normal, you can still have adenomyosis or you can still have endometriosis. So you need to find out if your pain is so bad and it's affecting your life, and you're married and obviously you're looking for a baby. If there's so much of pain, even if your scan is normal, if you have tried for a certain number of months, at least 1 year or so for your baby, you should think of getting a diagnosis whether it is endometriosis or not. I get menses every month, but it lasts for about 10 days and stops and comes back on and off till 15 days. The scan testosterone normal. So again, you are having 10 days of bleeding, and obviously in 2 weeks you're starting your cycle. So your bleeding is a bit too long. So there has to be some sort of a hormone reason why, or maybe stress, maybe your body weight, maybe something is there affecting. So you should think of getting some sort of a hormonal intervention to shorten your cycle, or non-hormonal to shorten your cycle, to see whether you can adjust it. Because like you said, once you bleed for 10 days, then in your cycle is done when you finish. And then your second half begins in 2 weeks, you're back on another cycle. So you're having roughly 3-week cycles. What is normal and abnormal period pain? So normal, as I said, would start usually with the day of your period, and in the first 3 to 5 days, or the first 2 to 3 days, maybe you will have some sort of a discomfort, more around the 3rd, 4th day, and it goes down and finishes with the period.
if your pain, even if it's happened the same way, like I told you with the period, if it's too excruciating that it doesn't stop, it doesn't respond to simple pain medicine, you can't go out, you can't do your day-to-day things. Either it's associated with painful bowel opening, diarrhea, tummy pains, can't pass urine, you're fainting, the pain is so much, even within that period, it's still abnormal. If it is, there's associating other pains before period, after periods, you have other symptoms with the period, back pain and all these, still it's abnormal. So anything that's affecting your quality of life, then that period becomes abnormal. What is your guidance for pregnant women about COVID vaccine, especially Pfizer? Again, pregnant women at this given state of life in this world, I think we should see what is the best way to be safe. If you are a pregnant mother, yes, even if you are not pregnant, especially pregnant mothers should get some sort of a vaccine to protect themselves and their unborn babies. Because if you are pregnant and you get COVID, your outcome might not be the same as the others because you're pregnant. If you are vaccinated, there's enough evidence to suggest that your COVID status, the disease will not become very severe. You will not become oxygen dependent. You will not end up having to have ECMOs and ICU, and all those bad things might not happen. And your outcome of your baby is also better off. So I think it doesn't matter whether you take Pfizer or not, but some sort of vaccine is essential for the mothers, because the last couple of weeks, everyone, more than half the patients I'm delivering are non-vaccinated COVID positive mothers. So I would think pregnant women should think about vaccinating themselves as well as everyone else. I have a problem with period once in 4 months or 6 months. I do scan, doctor said they have fat in my womb, ovary. What is the cause? So again, most likely you have PCOS. There's nothing called fat in your ovary or womb. There's no fat in ovary or womb that we diagnose or say that is there. The likelihood is you have immature follicles in your ovaries, and most likely you are having PCOS. As long as you have a diagnosis to confirm you have PCOS, then everything will change. So that's something you have to look into. I had 3 cesarean, I didn't do LRT. Can I put loop? What is the best way? Again, that's a choice that you would make. After cesarean, yeah, you need not always have to have LRT, but you choose a suitable contraceptive method which works for you and your partner. Some people will live with a condom till the end. They will not have a problem. Some people, yeah, either one of you will not like it. So you have to choose whether you need a long-term contraception, which is like an implant in the arm or a copper loop or things like that, or even a hormonal like injections or tablets, whatever that feels you right, depending on whether you would want to have another baby later, whether you want to space it and then have another baby. So it all depends, and your other medical issues as well. I need to know about miscarriage and about bleeding, miscarriage at 1.5 months. For how long bleeding goes? I'm not quite sure about what you are asking, but if it's about miscarriage, means you had a miscarriage, and once your miscarriage is done, if you had a scan to confirm there are not a lot of tissues left behind, normally you would bleed up to 2 to 3 weeks in some people, but not very heavy, lighter bleeding, which will ease off with time. Will a person be able to give a normal birth after an IVF? Of course, depending on the reason. Some people have IVF for reasons like, example, let's say PCOS, to the extreme that you have normal sperms, normal tubes, you are ovulating, but it's just not happening. So you end up having IVF because of PCOS in some rare instances, obviously. Then because you don't have any other reason, most probably some people do fall pregnant naturally. It all depends on the reason. But if you had IVF for double tubal blockage, complete blockage of the tubes, or very bad sperms, then obviously your chance of having a natural pregnancy after that will be very slim. Is it advisable to use birth control pills for severe pains prior to menstruation? Again, it depends on the cause. It depends on the cause. You need to first find out what is the reason for your period pains. Then, yes,
if the pill is the best choice, then yes. So again, somebody's asking about adenomyosis. It's something I just touched upon. So just like endometriosis, where the lining of the womb goes inside the muscle. So every month when you're bleeding out from the endometrium, there'll be bleed within the muscle. You imagine the muscle can give way. So every single month you have a period, the muscle will be filling with blood. Little blood. So in some people you get diffuse endometriosis or adenomyosis, where this whole thing is all over your muscle. In some, it will be very focalized in one area. So these people, when you scan, I normally see gradually in their 40s, I would see a very bulky, globular, big womb, because the womb muscles are so lax and so soft with filled of muscle, filled with blood. And they, yes, will have very heavy bleeding, very painful bleeding, which would have most probably started from the time you started your period onwards, and it would get worse in your late 40s. These are the women most probably will end up having, like I said, when you go and say I have bleeding, and they end up having hysterectomies. So there are obviously many other things you can do. So she has asked, tell me about adenomyosis and the options of pregnancy. Usually adenomyosis on its own doesn't stop you from falling pregnant. But if you have very, let's say, endometriotic blood flow is reduced, or you have very diffuse adenomyosis, then sometimes there are issues with implantation and other things. But not generally, no, you can still fall pregnant without any problem. 45-year-old particle in the vagina. That's something without seeing you, I don't think I can tell you that. Birth control pills, I've told. Vaginal dryness, I said. Is it normal to have breast pain before periods and sometimes lumpy? Yes. So before periods, what happens? Because of certain hormone changes, you retain water. When you retain water, you feel more bloated. Women feel that their body weight is more, their breast is swollen, it's very tender, it's very sore and all that, and even more lumpiness. So that is perfectly normal. They usually go away the moment you start your periods, the water flow changes, and you come back to your normal self. And the lumpiness also goes away. That is why you need to do your breast examination after your periods, not during or before. Is it 100% impossible for women with PCOS to have a baby? That is what I told you before. No, it is 100% possible to have a baby. Only a very few women, or maybe less than half the women, will need some sort of an intervention, help to boost their fertility to fall pregnant, just because PCOS, no. Loin pains before periods, something to worry. Maybe just part of having a back pain and a slight pain, which doesn't affect your other day-to-day things. I wouldn't worry too much. So breastfeeding, I have answered. The older I became less painful, but more emotionally draining, like a sadness. See, now the way you're describing, the older I get, my periods have become less painful, but more emotionally draining, like a deep sadness. I'm happy you asked that. That is something I just again touched upon when I said an incident where you have premenstrual symptoms or premenstrual syndrome, where emotionally with time you are drained. Like you said, you have very labile emotions the first 10 days, 14 days before your periods. You practically become another person. Some have explained to me, doctor, I become like a monster. I'm screaming at everyone. I'm fighting with everyone. I'm so angry, doctor. I am not like this. My husband brought to me saying I am a different person. So most probably you have a premenstrual syndrome, which you need to look into it. But as long as it doesn't affect, again, your day-to-day life, your relationship, your kids, your lifestyle, you are okay, as long as a subtle change. Not that it completely changes you, where you're crying, you have no control of your emotions, or that you need to have that sorted out. Again, somebody has said, I have pain during periods, but nowadays it's reduced. What shall I do? I would just watch and wait. Breast along with reference, which I think I have answered. young girl with PCOS, regular period, what is the best days for fertilization? Again, I have a big problem with days of fertility. See, again, like I told you, your cycles will be varying from 24 to 34, 35 days. Picture perfect cycle, it will be on the 14th day if you have a 28-day cycle. Again, it doesn't exactly happen on the same day. When it comes to fertility, unless you're living in two different places and you're not meeting very regularly, don't look at fertilization days. Please have regular sexual intercourse, which is 3 times or 4 times a week, irrespective of when you're ovulating or not, because you can ovulate any time of your cycle depending on when you ovulate, when your ovum comes out, how long is your cycle, loads of things will matter. So don't pinpoint on fertilization days. Normally, even though if I say like couples who are, like I say, unless you are living far apart and you have studied your cycle for 3-4 months and you know roughly the length of your cycle, then usually from the time you have your period, 14 days ahead will be roughly your ovulation, something like that. So don't look at it, because in some couples that becomes a stress on its own. Period வந்த டைம்ல pain killer எடுத்து yeah, I told you that before. There's nothing called your period stops completely. No, not really. Good job, thank you. Then I have said killing nice black cat. Oh, thank you. Please describe in Tamil about PCOD. Okay. PCOD என்று சொல்றது வந்துமா, it's நான் முத சொன்ன மாதிரி ஹோமோன் இம்பேலன்ஸ். உலகத்துல இருக்கிற மோஸ்ட் காமன் ஹோமோன் இம்பேலன்ஸ் வந்து PCOS or PCOD. ஹோமோன் இம்பேலன்ஸ்ல வந்து என்னது, பீரியட் பிரச்சனை இருக்கேலும், ஸ்கேன் பண்ண நான் படத்துல காட்டின மாதிரி குட்டி குட்டி பிளாக் ஃபாலிக்கல்ஸ் இருக்கேலும், அப்படி இல்லாட்டி சம் சார்ட் ஆஃப் அந்த மேல் ஹோமோனுக்குள்ள அறிகுறிகள் இல்லாட்டி சிம்டம்ஸ். சில நேரம் பிளட் டெஸ்ட்ல கூட இருக்கேலும், இல்லாட்டி பிளாக் பேச்சஸ் வரையிலும், பிம்பிள்ஸ் வரையிலும், ஆயிலி ஸ்கின் வரையிலும், முடி கொஞ்சம் கூடேலும், என்ன சார் வித்தியாசமும் இருக்கும். ஸோ தீஸ் ஆர் சிம்டம்ஸ் டயக்னோஸ் PCOS. PCOS இருந்துச்சுன்னு சொல்லி அதுக்கு ஒரு மருந்து இல்ல, அது இருந்தா கட்டாயம் டாக்டர் கிட்ட போகணும் இல்ல, அது இருந்தா பபா கிடைக்காதுன்னு இல்ல, அது இருந்தா பீரியட்ஸ் ஒழுங்கா வராதுன்னு இல்ல, ஒன்றும் இல்ல. யூ கேன் ஸ்டில் ஹேவ் PCOS, ரெகுலரா உங்களுக்கு பீரியட்ஸ் வரையும் மேலும் நேச்சுரலா பபா கிடைக்கலும், உங்களுக்கு ஒரு பிரச்சனையும் இல்லாம இருப்பீங்க. சில நேரம் சில ஆக்களை கொஞ்சம் போல முடி கூட இருக்கும், கொஞ்சம் போல பிம்பிள் கூட இருக்கும், பட் லைஃப் கோஸ் ஆன் as நார்மல். நீங்க உங்களை பாக்காட்டி மட்டும்தான் பிரச்சனைகள் பிறகு வரும், இல்லாட்டி இல்லமா. Is it only way to remove womb to reduce pain? No, I completely disagree with you. Unless first, number one, the reason for your pain is very important. Number two, there are lots of hormonal, non-hormonal things that you can do to reduce pain. If you have done everything and your last resort should be hysterectomy or removal of womb. In some women, I'm telling you, even if you have endometriosis, you are pushed to remove your womb, and that is something your doctor advised. Twice, thrice, many times before you decide on it. Because sometimes we make mistakes, doctors make mistakes. They diagnose you having pain because of your uterus and they remove the uterus. But your pain never goes away, because your pain was not because of the uterus, because of some other bladder, bowel, some other issue. So you have to be very careful when you say remove the womb to reduce pain. If the pain is purely because of your uterus, yes, you might have some relief. Sometimes, sadly, some women don't have at all. Like FGM in Africa. Hold on, I've missed it now. Period cramp and pain like FGM in Africa. I don't understand your question, because there's no question. Menopause. Okay, sorry, you got it. Okay, I think I have covered most of your questions, if I'm right. And anything else, Rushta or Akil, that I have to
Vahra, are you there? Vahra?
Anything else, Rushda, or are we calling it a day? Are we done?
Fahra, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So there was a technical issue once again. Yes, doctor, you brought up something that women would never speak out, or at least give a thought of at sharing it, right? So it was an extraordinary explanation. And I'm pretty sure that this was an incredible session, not only for the women and girls out here, but also to men to understand the female roles in their lives, also to especially to find out their problems and help them with that, and also to express our sincere gratitude on behalf of the Association of
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ප්‍රථමයෙන්ම මෙවන් වූ හරවත් වැඩසටහන සාර්ථක කර ගැනීමට අවස්ථාව ලබා දුන් ਸਰව බලධාරි අල්ලාහ් තාලාටම සියලු ප්‍රශංසාවන් හිමි වේවා. අල්හම්දුලිල්ලාහ්. දහසකුත් වැඩ රාජකාරී අසීරුතා මැදියේ අපගේ ආරාධනය පිළිගෙන හරවත් මාතෘකාවක් යටතේ අප වෙනුවෙන් ආරාධිත දේශක ලෙස දායකත්ව සැපයූ ප්‍රසවහා නාරිවේදී විශේෂඥ ලැපරොස්කෝපික් ශල්‍ය වෛද්‍ය රොෂන් මහත්මියට අපගේ හදපිරි ස්තුතිය පුද කරන අතරම මින්මතුවටත් සමාජයේ යහපත උදෙසා සේවය කිරීමට අල්ලාහ් තාලාගේ ආශිර්වාදය නිරන්තරයෙන්ම හිමි වේවායි කියා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරන්නෙමු. එමෙන්ම පවතින කෙතරම් අසීරුතා මැදියේ වූවද අසීරුතාවන් බාධාවක්සේ නොසලකා වැඩසටහන සාර්ථකව සංවිධානය කළ කැලණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ඉස්ලාමීය ශිෂ්‍ය සංගමේ සංවිධායක කමිටුවට අපගේ ස්තුතිය පුද කරන අතර ඉදිරියටත් මෙවන් වූ වැඩසටහන් සාර්ථකව සංවිධානය කර ගැනීමට අල්ලාහ්ගේ ආශිර්වාදය හිමි වේවා කියා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරන්නෙමු. එමෙන්ම විවිධ බාධක වැඩ රාජකාරී හමු වූවද වැඩසටහනට සම්බන්ධ වූ සියලුම දෙනාට යම් අයුරකින් හෝ අපගේ මෙම වැඩසටහන සාර්ථක කර ගැනීමට සහාය වූ ඔබ සියලුම දෙනාටම ජසාකල්ලා හයිරා. ස්තුතියි.
Welcome. And I think I'll also give a big thank you and jazakallah for all of you who are doing this. And I think inshallah you all should continue what you're doing. And as I told you, you are tomorrow's society, you are the future, all of you. I'm sure there are lots of different faculties as apart from medical students and everyone. And inshallah, you all should encourage, especially women, obviously, because women, unless we encourage our own, we are not going to get more gynecologists or doctors and lawyers and teachers and scientists in this country and world, inshallah, if we don't encourage our own children. So inshallah, I'm hoping that we will encourage each other, and I'm hoping that I will meet all of you someday, inshallah, somewhere. And I wish all of you the very best in whatever you're doing. And with Allah's grace, do make du'as that you all will shine in the future and make our society and our country a much better place for our future children. Thank you, and Jazakallah khairan for having me.
Thank you, doctor.
Just apologize that we couldn't answer all of your questions because of the intense crowd which we had around 280. So it's we would be happy if we could answer, but unfortunately the time is also there and the doctor is also getting tired. So sorry for that. But if you have any questions, you can follow our Facebook page. So I have shared the link to the chat box, so you can follow the Facebook page. If you have any questions, which you can drop out a comment or put out a message so that we can contact the doctor and get yourself cleared. Apart from that, today's recording will be shared to our Facebook page with the prior consent and permission from the doctor if available. And then we'll be sharing the video or the link for the recorded session to our Facebook page, so that I have shared you the link. So please keep in touch with that page so that you can get the video, and make sure that wherever someone would have missed the session, so you can get them involved with that. And in order to conclude, we'll be doing more sessions continuously, so with related other areas. So therefore, keep in touch with us and please provide a feedback. The other Google form has been provided in the chat box that we could improve ourselves further. And Jazakallah khair, Doctor, the organizing committee, and everyone.
Thank you. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum for everyone.
salam.
Walaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, madam.